Hi everybody and welcome to the Fellowship Style Stage, where today I'm joined with another hairdressing friend, an absolute hairdressing icon, Andy Smith, who I'm going to let him introduce himself as he gets going, but you are the global ambassador for Indola as well, and he's got an incredible haircut he's going to be working on today and loads of amazing stuff to share with everybody who's watching. So Andy, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much, sir. Always a pleasure to see you.
Yeah, good to see you.
Hi everybody, thanks for joining. So my name's Andy, I'm the Global Ambassador for Indola. Today I just wanted to bring more of a haircut to the vibe. I have pre-cut Olive's hair and I've pre-dried it, and I kind of just want to show you how you can really change and build a shape quite dramatically when the hair's dry. And although we technically normally do hair wet as a base, it's sometimes quite nice now to really personalize and detail the hair when it's dry.
I'm fascinated with the net as well. This looks like a really amazing technique as well. What's what you're doing here?
Okay, so for me it's important, I think, I sort of like to go down a more editorial sort of vibe. At Indola, we're sort of very based around street style, which is like the cool kids, how they actually wear their hair. So the net is really there for me to keep the hair small, so keep it flat. Because I find that when you're doing bobs or anything around this length, if you add too much volume, they can become quite old school. So I find the nets are a great way to layer your products and then allow the hair to sit really flat. So when you see, that will sit really, really flat and really clean into the head shape, ready for me now to work into the haircut.
That's such an amazing tip, though, for anybody who's working with haircuts to kind of create that really cool vibe and have this more editorial feel to what you're creating.
Yeah, I think, do you know what? It's I'm a great believer in, like, we never stop learning. And, you know, you pick up so many little details. And I think that's what's great about doing these type of things. You know, there's certain aspects that you pick up from someone that you think, oh, I can relate to that. And yeah, it's just a clever way just to help reduce the volume of the hair. So basically what I'm going to do, you can see this beautiful bleach. We have amazing bleaches at Indola. I mean, you can see how clean it looks. It's just raw bleach. Mm-hmm. There's no tone, no nothing. We wanted to keep like a really cool root. Because of that street style element, I feel it's quite nice for it to look lived in, as opposed to too done. Now, haircut wise, I'll quickly talk you through it. Otherwise, I'll be talking all day. You know what I'm like, Rob. Come on. So I've pre-cut just a baseline. Now, I wanted it kind of to have this kind of bobby vibe, but I want to create some tiers within the haircut. And as we know, another top tip is, you know, from the front of the head to the back of the head, we have double the hair at the back, right? So the front always kind of feels a little bit looser. So what I'm going to do as well is put 2 channels underneath the back to reduce that weight, to kind of balance the haircut out so that the flow it just feels better and it moves better. And I find a lot of our clients as well always say, oh, my hair's so fine at the front, it's so thick at the back. So this is a nice little technique to kind of show you guys. So let's get started. So again, you can see the finish. I want this to kind of kick out just a touch on the base. When I remove this weight from the underneath here, that's going to sit in even more and give me a really beautiful silhouette. Now, product-wise, I've just used a little bit of the Indola setting spray and blow-dried that in with a wrap dry. Now, what I'm going to do now is just subdivide the hair from kind of just the top of the head into the back, because it's really important that I maintain this corner here. And I'm just going to start, first of all, by putting a line into the side to build a more sort of graphic feeling to the haircut. So let me swing you around a little bit. Okay, so we're going to work in horizontal sections. Now, the sections that you work in here should obviously work with the line that you're cutting. So that's another little thing that I think is nice for people when they're learning, is to realize if I want to cut a line like this, you know, then your angle should work along that line, whereas you wouldn't section it like this and cut it like this. I feel like you lose a little bit of perspective.
And these are great tips for anybody who's watching, particularly anybody who's part of the next generation of new talent that's entering the industry as well. And I think in a hairdressing industry where you see a lot of long hair, and perhaps a bit less so about haircuts as perhaps what it used to be, it's so lovely to see stronger shapes again and like to get excited about cutting hair again, because I think it's something that obviously is a massive part of being a hairdresser, but has got a bit lost somewhere with all of the long hair work that's around.
Definitely. I think, long hair is a vibe. We all love long hair,
yeah.
But at the same time, to do things that are still kind of not too aggressive, but short and have quite a bit of strength are actually really, really sort of key that we keep that within the industry. So you can see here, I'm cutting this with not a lot of elevation. So we are building quite a strong line, but I'm using like the tips of the scissors and really sort of breaking that edge, so that we still have that kind of loose, undone structure. So it's not too clean, too aggressive. And I feel that's quite important, when building this shape up, is that you want that softness. So afterwards, when I style it, you're going to see how it sort of kind of moves. The hair swings and sort of moves around a little bit softer, rather than having those really, really strong lines.
It's really satisfying to watch lightened hair like this being cut as well in such a strong shape. And I know you talked a bit about like the preparation of hair, and I know you've been working with some Indola products to create the perfect prep on the hair. Is that something that's a really key part of any haircut as well?
Oh, 100%. I think, we're only as good as the tools we have, right? Yeah. So if we've got the right products and we can layer them up to create the right textures, then that's what we need. And then obviously a decent pair of scissors, and a comb. I think that it's important when cutting strong lines or really sort of working with haircuts, is to have a decent set of blades, because they don't all have to be super expensive, but just make sure that they're sharp, because otherwise, you can't get these sort of...
Just make life hard for yourself. You've got to, like you say, tools are so important, whether it's wet line products or scissors or combs.
Exactly. So I'm only going to work up to this section here. So this is my last section. So again, you can see the scissors really sort of creating that shattered edge with that small amount of graduation, which basically just allows the hair to kind of move and have that little break throughout. Now this is totally disconnected from the back, okay? So this is staying really heavy and strong, and then this is just that tiered shorter. So I'm just going to check it off just with the wide tooth of the comb and release a little bit more weight. And then what I'm going to do is move on to the other side. So that's my first side. I'm only working up to there because I don't want it to be too heavy. So these layers on the top, I want them to kind of swing around a little bit. So we're just going to work to that level there. So if you now take a look at her, in comparison to the other side, it's really starting to open up her cheekbones. It's starting to give the haircut a little bit more of a vibe. And I think these next-gen kids, they're so cool. Yeah. And it's like a lot of them are like cut their own bits off, or they colour it themselves. And I think it's about enhancing their vibes as opposed to necessarily taking them and creating a vibe. Because
not as manufactured as
exactly. They are the vibe.
We chatted earlier on, and I love what you said about that, because I think that's so true about clients who visit salons, or if you're working with models, it's kind of finding out what their vibe's all about first, and then actually making them look even better.
Yeah, so exactly. And do you know what? I mean, me and you have known each other, 20 odd years?
Something like that, yeah.
Easy. I mean, it's mad. But at the same time, we both worked and gone through the careers at similar stages. And I think before we used to really try and feel like the pressure of making something happen or making something new. And I think now it's kind of like, let's get a model. Let's look at the model. Let's make it fit the model, rather than this is the haircut we have to do, and let's stick it on someone,
Yeah, and I think from a fellowship perspective as well, that's something that I'm kind of really passionate about at the moment over the next couple of years as president, to make sure that we kind of keep things really real as well. So it's not about everything being so slick and so polished, and there's still a place for that in the industry, but to see just amazing, really beautifully styled, beautifully cut hair with a really kind of cool vibe. I just think that's what we need to show to the next generation of hairdressers. So,
Yeah.
you know, anybody who's watching this and wants to learn more about all the amazing artists in the industry, you know, keep an eye out for what's on the Fellowship website, and we're going to keep this updated with the latest and the very best in hairdressing creative work.
Now, another key tip for me here is using like facial features to help you when building your shapes and controlling your balance. For example, eyes, eyebrows, nose, cheekbones, jaw, ears, everything is actually there to really help you. So obviously here on this side, when I look at it, and we'll face you there, you know, you can see that I'm kind of hitting just in that area of the earlobe, just where it starts to break. So now as I'm working on this side, I've kind of got almost like a guideline, even though I'm cutting it in raw. And I think also working without a mirror, you kind of need that, you know, because otherwise it can be quite difficult to get your balance. So that's how I'm going to start now, knowing that I'm in the right kind of place. And again, with the angle that I'm cutting, I'm staying on the same angle as the jaw pretty much to try and sit that in. Now, my first guide, you would always cut slightly longer, you know, otherwise you end up with hair like me. So I find it's quite important just to then come back, have another look from the front and check your balance. And don't be scared to like walk away from your work and stand away from it and really sort of feel it. I feel like sometimes hairdressers are so like this or like this, they don't actually just chill out. Just like have a look at it, check it, make sure it's working and then continue, you know, there's nothing wrong with that.
Check your clients smiling and happy as well. You know things are going well.
That does help.
I know you can't see, but it looks great.
That does help, yeah. It's when they're crying that, you know, it becomes a little bit more stressful. But I think, you know, the consultation and coming on to that is a huge point as well. You know, I mean, I know Olive, like we know each other, we've worked together. You know, she's been a great model for me many times. So, but even then, it's not like I just put a haircut on her. She's still a person. Yeah. She's still got a vibe. She's got to work. Yeah. So everything's a discussion, you know. So it's like, how can we really make her look really cool? But at the same time, she's got to be happy with it, you know. So I think it's really key to spend more time on a consultation nowadays with clients, you know, because otherwise it's kind of, if you're just starting out, as long as you're 100% sure that you're on the same page, I think then everyone's much more relaxed.
Yeah, that's amazing advice, actually. And I think we touched a little bit on about the amount of long hair that's out there with clients at the moment as well. And I think that kind of consultation is so important when you're talking about perhaps going shorter or changing somebody's haircut and shape. What would your like top tips be? It is just kind of understanding the vibe of that person, or are there other things that you could give our fellowship members advice on?
Do you know what I would really advise is that we as stylists are all individuals. We all have our own vibe, our own sort of style, things that we see, and nothing's really right or wrong. And the connection between you and your client is the key. Yeah. So sometimes that client, you know, maybe they've complained and said that you didn't do something. Don't be disheartened by that, because you may have just not gelled with the client well or understood it, but it doesn't mean the next person's not going to absolutely love you.
Yeah, and that's so true. Yeah.
I think going through your hairdressing career, you can take many knocks. Yeah. From, you know, even I remember cutting a girl's hair from here, and she asked for it cut up to here, and I was like, "Are you sure?" Yeah, right up to here. So I thought, okay, I'll be safe. I cut it to here, and she went mental. It's too short. It's too short. I was like, what? You know, so it's like, it happens to all of us, you know. So it's really just understanding how to make sure that you go through consultations, make sure you sort of take the time to understand exactly what it is your client wants. And then that makes you both much more confident. I
think you sometimes remember the stories like that more than some of the success stories sometimes as well, because it's those things that are a big learning curve for you as certainly as a hairdresser starting out in the industry as well.
Oh, definitely. I think, you know, that's kind of makes you who you are, because it gives you that bit of strength to then start, you have to get over hurdles in life, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes things that knock you back actually make you stronger.
Yeah,
So,
100%.
So yeah, my advice would be to not be too scared, but at the same time, take a little bit of time and make sure you focus on your consultations. Okay.
And so when you're working on hair that's bleached in this way, and you've got fantastic shine that's on the hair as well,
Yeah.
but do you find that you have to kind of care or treat that in a different way when you're cutting, or you think about it in a different way?
For me, I think I like things that are quite organic. So even though this looks quite strong in shape, once I start moving it, I feel like it's going to flow. I purposely didn't want to add any more colours into the hair because I feel like this is a haircut and it's kind of a cutting vibe, and I might just start to make it a little bit too busy, if you know what I mean. So, but yeah, definitely working with a bleach. You want to make sure you're using the right bleaches that have got Carabon technology, that are looking after the hair, that are not going to strip it and damage it. Because at the end of the day, a lot of people are scared of bleach because they think it's going to damage. Nowadays, our bleaches are so much better.
Yeah.
So it's like we've got more confidence. So if you can create a bleach with this sort of finish and this sort of vibe, it actually makes the haircut kind of easy. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is just take away my 2 panels on the underneath. So really just removing this weight. So everything's about detailing. It's making sure that we build these tiers, we keep things separate, so we try not to connect this. Now, I'm going to work down the curvature of the head. Now, the curvature of the head is obviously where we build up the most hair, really. That's where, and obviously you've got an occipital bone, so that bone is always going to push it out. So if you want to flatten that a little bit, what I tend to do is just go in. Let me grab one of my clips. And we'll just follow it round. Like this. We'll separate out the sides. Now here, this area of weight can actually be reduced down quite a little bit. So we're going to come in and take some of that length away just on the underneath. Now this can look a little bit scary, but again, all it is internal layering. So none of this is going to be visual. And watch what happens when I push it down. You see how it just disappears into the underneath because of the elevation. So I'd probably do like 2 sections either side. And again, keep the elevation high. Keep the scissors going in on a nice sort of trajectory, so they're not going in too aggressively. So you have that really nice soft edge to the haircut. Keep it, as long as you lift it, you're not going to get any lines. And now as soon as that drops down, that's just going to push that weight in just behind the ear there. Which is, you can see the difference.
That's such a good shape, so you can really see how that's...
Can you see how it looks really dense there? And this side is now just starting just to sit in just a little bit, but it's very, very soft. So, you can also start to move this, you can manipulate it. You can even use this to kind of create volume if you wanted. So it's like a tool. So I'm just going to do the same on the other side. So I'm just going to follow that up to this side. Okay, now what I would do is use this as my guide. So you can see we're working on like a balance line here. So we're going to continue this round. And I should have a guideline right there. Okay, so that gives me the confidence to be able to continue that knowing that I'm in balance, okay? So again, we can just reduce that weight down right the way through. And again, we just said we were going to do two sections. And we're going to keep that rest because we want to maintain some length. So just reduce that.
One of the things I can really see here as well is using that net that you used, that you showed at the beginning of the presentation. It really has changed the way that hair is sitting against the scalp.
Yeah, well, exactly that. I mean, it's really, I'm trying to make my job easier, so again, it's all of these little tips and tricks. Like, I need to decide what shape I want and then how I'm going to create it, and I'm not going to be able to create it if I haven't layered the hair with the right products and I haven't removed weight or used a net to kind of flatten the shape, This could be quite swollen otherwise, but now that sits in really quite flat through there now. You see, you get that cooler sort of vibe, which is nice. And this top is disconnected, so this is going to hang over. So let me just give it a blast, and then we're going to work into the fringe. But gets everywhere. Okay, so I mean, you can see that when I'm doing it, it looks quite aggressive, but actually it's not.
It's got softness to it.
It's cleverly placed, and it's inside. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is just looking at my balance, just having a look at my edges, because I want to keep these corners. I feel like they're quite a cool sort of finish there. What I want to do now is open up. She's got great eyebrows, so. I mean, the rest of her is lovely as well, but her eyebrows are, she's got great eyebrows, and you can't see them under here, so we're going to open up this fringe. Now, another key tip I would say here is with hair like this, I don't iron it before cutting a fringe. You want the hair to bevel, so I wrap dried the hair just using like a flat brush, see out there. Wrap dry the hair all the way through. That gives you that natural bevel. If you start ironing everything and then cutting dry, it can ping and be a little bit scary. So I think let the hair be a bit more natural as you're cutting in fringes, definitely. Okay, so I'm just going to open this up. Now, I want to keep it quite chunky. So obviously the higher I lift it, the softer it's going to be. So I want to sort of keep my graduation quite low, but at the same time I want it to have like a broken, sort of distorted, kind of as if she sort of cut it herself sort of vibe, if you know what I mean. So again, with the tips of my scissors going in, let's turn to this camera. Just using the scissors and the comb, keeping it low. And we just start, you can see how I'm going in at quite a soft edge. And some pieces, I actually go in a bit more aggressive. So again, I need to stand back, have a little look. You can see now how her eyebrow is just starting to pop out.
She has got great eyebrows.
See, I told you. Told you. No one believed me. So yeah, she has got great eyebrows and a hairy lip now. Sorry. Okay, so just really take your time here. And again, you can push this because depending on the client and their eyebrows and the face shapes, you might want to hide the eyebrows. You keep it a bit longer. So whereas here, I just want to open it up. So we're using the wide tooth of the comb, just going in with that quite strong, quirky, sort of broken finish. So not too structured. Don't worry too much about it. Just clean that up there. It's quite nice just to sort of pull these corners open just a touch, just around the area of the cheekbone here. I feel like that just opens up the face quite nicely.
I think this really shows the power of a haircut as well, how amazing a haircut can make somebody look as well.
Yeah, I feel, well, that's kind of what I wanted to show was, because when she came out, she looked pretty cool already.
Yeah.
You know, that was already like a pre-cut bob, so it was kind of like, you know, that was a vibe in itself.
Yeah.
But it's how do we kind of push that if she wants something slightly different, or, you know, how can we evolve the haircut and also show off her great eyebrows? Okay, so again, just working with that, you know, you can see how quite random I'm going in with those blades. I want it to be really kind of like a fusion of texture coming through there. Yeah, see, she's starting to look very cool now. It's quite an editorial flavour, which is what I kind of wanted.
I think from like a photographic perspective, there's so many sort of things you could do with this haircut and photograph it in so many angles.
Exactly. I mean, I was already saying to Olive, I said, she's got another job, and I was like, they're going to love this because they're going to be like, whoa, look, I can do so much with it. Originally, I was going to slick her back and do like a styling, but I thought I'd quite like to show the power of the cut, you know. So just with some cold air now, I'm just blasting the hair through.
So as we come to the last few minutes of the presentation, I think the finishing aspect of what you're going to share with us now as well is so important, because I think one of the things I loved about what you said is kind of things being quite undone and quite effortless, and not too contrived with how we kind of overstyle things. So what are your sort of top tips with how you would work with product here, or how you would finish the look?
So for me, it's kind of like a lot of the preparation was done, like before I even started the haircut.
Yeah.
So the layering of products, you know, whether you're using a mousse or whether you're using a thickening spray or a setting spray, anything that you layer up into the hair, blow dry it beautifully, then it just becomes about enhancing that. So I'm going to use a little bit of the texture powder. Now, this is quite good just for adding like a little bit of density, especially like into like fringy areas. Mattifies the hair. So I quite like just to sort of put a little bit of that in the edges.
I think that's one of the things with product now and the different finishes that we can create. I think today's consumers are so aware of everything that's out there, whether they're inspired by images on Instagram or fashion magazines, or they're kind of almost kind of building their own little micro trends up of what they see. And product's a big part of that as well.
No, you're right. And also it's about product placement. Now, I wouldn't put this all the way through, because it's going to add volume. If you do that. So you don't have to necessarily use one product for everything. I'm going to use a little bit of the powder, then I'm going to use some of the glamorous oil, so I'm almost contradicting myself by putting some oil into the mid-lengths and ends, and that's really going to start to give it a bit of a vibe through the base. So again, just starting to seal those edges. You know, because you just want it to just look a bit, not like dirty, but kind of, you know, you want it to have an element of like, it is kind of a street vibe, and she's kind of rocking her own look, you know. You know, some of these bits, you know, that's fine. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be polished. You know, sometimes like imperfections make perfections. And I'm just going to finish her up with, if I can get this off after putting oil on. Now, flexible hold hairsprays. For me, hairsprays are like the key. Do you not find you're layering up hairsprays? So, you know, you need to use like a flexible spray, something that you can really rework and that isn't too strong from the start. And then you can start to layer it up. You can iron over it. You can brush it out. You can change your shape. You know, you can really sort of, they're very good for working hairsprays. Yeah. Stand up for me.
Yeah, so just to recap over what you've done, Andy, I mean, it looks amazing.
Okay, so just a little recap. It's really brought her out with like a one-length bob. You can never have enough hairspray. Brought her out with a one-length bob, as you can see, quite graphic through the base. left a little shattered edge through there. Olive's hair was quite weak at the front, so we wanted to strengthen these sides, work with her cheekbones, but still create a very clear separation between length and side, if you know what I mean. So it's, you know, it's not connected, it's not like rounded through. And then obviously with this fringe, just to release her eyebrows. They're like the talk of the town, honestly. Everyone's going to be talking about your eyebrows. So just to open up a little bit around the face through the front, and then on the underneath here, we took our 2 layered panels in order to sort of allow that hair to sit in and kind of bevel into place. And so again, I didn't have much time, so I wanted to kind of show you something quite quick but quite powerful with regards to how she sort of started and how she finished. So let me give her a brush off, because she always shouts at me if I don't brush her. She's like, will you remember to brush my face? So I'm just going to do that. You're welcome.
And the close down looks really cool and modern as well.
Yeah, I really like less is more, like street style vibes. You know, she's just cool girl, rocking it. She looks cool. It's a nice little shape. You know, it's really strengthened it up. It's not too aggressive, but it's definitely got like a coolness to it.
Love it. Looks amazing.
Like it?
Andy, it's been fantastic to have you on stage. Thank you so much for doing this today. I mean, it's always brilliant to see the work you create. So close up for me watching this has been fantastic.
Amazing.
Thank you so much, everybody, for watching. Keep in touch with everything we do at the Fellowship, and we'll look forward to seeing you all again soon.
Thanks, guys. Cheers. Thanks, Robert.